BMWs from the same era as this E60 have a known issue of the sway bar mounting bracket breaking off of the subframe as this car's did. In today's video, we're gonna fabricate a new mount and weld it back on. So let's get into it on Rebuild Revival. First, we need to unhook this bracket so we can move the sway bar assembly out of the way. It's two 13 millimeters. We're not going to disconnect any of the lines. We're just going to hang it off of the subframe out of the way. All right, so we're just going to disconnect the sway bar end links here from the sway bar. It's a 16 and a T30 Torx to hold the center. We'll just put this nut back on so we don't lose it. Check that out. Just broke my Torx. What is this, Husky? Craftsman. Ooh, that line right there. Be careful of that. Well, we can pull this off. And now we can also take this bushing off. All right, so this is actually just a vent line that we can remove. So we'll just remove this vent line from this Y. Pull this little collar out. There we go. Just don't lose this little collar. All right, that gives us enough room to where we can clean all of this up and also trace this to create our new bracket. So this is the bracket here that we need to create and weld on over here. Okay, so we're just gonna take a piece of cardboard and trace this bracket out. So I'm gonna make a hole in the cardboard so we can put it over this bolt. We'll just push it on to create the spot where we need to make the hole. There we go, and now let's just make a hole there. Just shove it over like that. And now we'll trace it out from the back side. It's kind of hard to get to the back side of this, so I think what I'm gonna do is just rub on it to create a mark on the back side. Check that out. You see how this one has these tabs? It's just to give the weld a larger surface area to attach the plate to the subframe. So we'll do the same thing, but it's going to be a mirror image on that side. All right, so we've got our template here and our piece of aluminum. So we need to cut this out. Now we will just trace it. Okay. That is our basic shape right there. We're gonna start off with this and we'll see how this does. think that's pretty good. I'm gonna drill the bottom one where I got a good mark, and then we'll line it up for the top one, and we'll do that one in a second. So let's do a center punch on the center of this. There we go. All right, let's see. All right, so I've got the bracket set up here, the bolt going through the bottom one, and I'm just gonna put a dot with the Sharpie right in the center for that side. So I think that should be good. All right, so we've got the center here. We'll put the center punch right there. There we go. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is to get that broken bolt out of that hole. So we'll do a center punch, use a left-handed drill bit, and try and get it with an extractor. All right, so let's do a center punch. Oh, I didn't break it all the way. That looks pretty good right there. Before I use the extractor, I'm going to heat up the metal around the bolt. Heat shield. Piece of aluminum. All right, now I'm gonna spray some of this stuff in there. I haven't used it much, but it's a penetrating lubricant and it freezes on contact. So I heat up the surrounding metal and then I'll try and spray this onto the bolt. Now we'll tap our extractor in there. Let's get this out of the way.
Here I'm trying a few different sized left-handed drill bits and extractors to get the broken bolt out, which was unsuccessful. So I started to drill the bolt out completely in preparation to tap the hole when I noticed there's actually a nut that drops down from the top of the subframe.
Aha! There was a nut in there.
So I don't need to tap the hole, I'll just need to get a new square nut.
All right, I've got all my hardware picked out. Went to Ace Hardware, found what I needed. Now we need to clean up all this old weld here on the subframe. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just spray it down with some brake clean just to get all of this oil off. All right, that was taking too long. I'm gonna use a flapper disc on a grinder. It's a little bit bent right there. All right, that looks pretty good. So basically, this bracket here sits about 1/4 of an inch away from this bracket here. So we need to actually weld a piece onto our new bracket that we made to take up that gap. And then what I'm gonna try and do is just get this as level as possible, the 2 holes, and then that's where we'll tack it. What I wanna do is mark on the back side where the subframe sits so I know where to weld that little piece above. I'm just resting it on the bolt and then lining it up to the edge of the bolt hole, which should be pretty close. All right. And I know this is a little bit thicker than the stock one, but why not? You know, make it a little bit stronger while we're in here. It's not like there's anything in the way. So yeah, it's a little bit thicker this way, probably a little bit longer. And the metal itself is a little thicker. All right, so now that we've got the subframe all cleaned up, I've also cleaned up the bracket, tried to make it look a little bit pretty. So this will bolt on here like that, and then we'll take a piece of this, cut it down to size, and weld it to the back of this bracket, and then weld everything to the subframe. A friend of mine who's gonna weld it on for me is on his way, so he should be doing that shortly. All right, we've got the bracket set up here. This is the little piece we're welding on to the back to take up the space. You'll see once it's on the car why we need that. So we're about to weld this on. All right, we got the bracket all welded up. It is looking good. So now we just need to bolt the sway bar back up. So let's do that. First, we'll install the bushings back. Just wrap them around like that. That's the old one. Here's the new one. And then we'll put the caps over the top. I'm just going to use a little bit of silicone spray on this. So the original one has a bolt pressed in. I don't have that. We're just using a regular bolt and a nut. So we'll get that side lifted in and then we'll get this one started. Perfect. All right, now we'll just tighten everything down. Okay. Now we need to put this vent back in. I'm just gonna clean all of this up a little bit, just with some brake clean. I would like to see where all of this is leaking from. It's probably this seal here. I believe this is the one that kind of starts going bad. Okay, now we'll slide this little collar back onto the vent line. Push the vent line back into the Y. And then pop the little collar back in. There we go. All right, now let's hook the sway bar end links back up. All right, let's just zip tie that up like that for now. I do want to find these covers, so I'll probably find a parts car, someone parting out a similar car, and get all of these lower covers because this stuff's just too exposed. So we'll zip tie this up here. I am just going to do a little more cleanup. Try and see where the leaks are actually coming from. But it's, like I said, it's probably this seal on this side and that seal on that side. All right, check it out. Looking good. Looking good. All right, everyone, that's gonna do it for today's video. We were able to repair that broken sway bar mount, and then we took the car out for a drive, and there are no more weird noises coming from the front end. So we'll be moving on to some of the more cosmetic issues with this 535i E60. So thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe, comment, and share this with someone, and I'll see you all in the next video.